Okay, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. Welcome to the Policy Committee meeting of Thursday, April 24th, 2014. Present in the room this evening are the Vice Chair, Director Gould, and Director Jack Scheidegger. The Chair is not with us this evening, so I'll be managing this. Call this meeting to order as public opportunity to discuss matters of public interest within the committee's scope, including items on or not on the agenda. Is there anyone from the public that would like to address this Policy Committee? Hearing none and seeing none, we'll then take a motion for consent agenda.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the consent agenda.
So noticed. I second that motion. Please call the roll.
Director Scheidegger.
Aye.
Director Gould.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you very much. We'll move on to action item number 1. That is the purchasing policy. Mr. Jones.
Evening.
I'm not sure that your
I'm not
mic
sure.
is
There
on.
we go,
There
there
we
we
go.
go. Now we're on.
Awesome.
Thanks for taking time to listen and consider revisions to the district's purchasing and contracting policy. You have a staff report in front of you there. I'm just going to paraphrase a little of that staff report, if you don't mind. As you're aware, the district has experienced a reduction in administration positions over the last few years. And one example is a purchasing agent. It was previously a full-time position under the finance department, is now staffed by myself. I have an accounting specialist, Matt Davies, and we work together to handle all of the matters concerning purchases for the whole district. In addition to this position, I'm the logistics manager, managing a staff of 8 people and handling our own logistics $1.4 million budget. Purchasing, not unlike the rest of the district's administration staff, is extremely busy. What we're proposing is for you to take a look at to raise the purchase order threshold from $500 to $1,000. So far this current budget year, just since July, we've processed 1,768 purchase orders. Last year, we processed 2,145, and about 636 of this current year, they've been under $1,000, between 500 and 1,000. Just takes an extreme amount of staff time. It may not seem like it takes a lot to process a purchase order, but someone enters a requisition, it gets approved by 2 or 3 people, then it finally gets issued, there's paperwork involved. So we're hoping to save about 40% of our time by raising that from $500 up to $1,000. We're also proposing to raise the formal bid threshold from $35,000 to $100,000. And it's, again, the formal bidding process is very labor intensive, and we really feel staff needs to focus more energy on the purchases for goods and services at the higher dollar procurements. The formal bid process adds several weeks and sometimes months to be able to procure items. Staff will benefit from this increase. They'll no longer need to take valuable time away from their core duties and evaluate proposals and things of that sort. Our current construction formal bidding threshold is at $10,000, requiring a formal bid for any construction. And there have been many projects between $10,000 and $45,000 that are very routine things: concrete projects, roofing projects, things that are not rural specific in nature, regarding building of fire stations, things of that nature. So we propose to have an informal bid requirement at $45,000 up to $100,000, and then our formal bid starting at $100,000 for construction projects. In order to do this, we have to adopt a resolution of the Uniform Public Construction Act, and the Act allows for informal bid procedures for construction projects between $45,000 and $100,000. Currently, the County of Sacramento just went to this at the beginning of this year. They raised their limits up to $100,000. In order to do this, we would have to bid out. We would have to set our bids and proposals out to pre-qualified vendors, as well as the builders exchanges. The commission has established a list of builders exchanges that we have to send them to for informal bids as well as formal bids. So we would still continue to do that. It just would be more of an informal process. We wouldn't require the 15-day bid requirement. We could negotiate with contractors ahead of time without legally going behind someone's back or legally not talking to one person as opposed to another person, but we'd be allowed to negotiate, and hopefully that would help change orders in the aftermath after we sign a contract. A lot of times what happens is we put a specific bid out. The contractors strictly go by our bid. They feel that if they don't follow our bid requirements, that they'll be deemed non-responsive. A lot of times they have better ideas than we have, so we want to be able to negotiate ahead of time with the subject matter experts, as opposed to us putting out a spec, they do the spec, and then we have change orders down the line. So if we can stop that ahead of time, it would really, really help. Let's see. And then any construction projects under $45,000 could either be done by our current personnel, which we have a lot of contractors in-house, or we could just informally go to one of our pre-qualified vendors. Again, we have to pre-qualify them ahead of time. And then we could just negotiate with them to get something, the best value for the district for that. And the commission has a list of the criteria. We just don't make up our own criteria. We have to do certain things that the commission says in order to pre-qualify vendors. So all of the labor codes, all of the, what word am I thinking of? The wages and benefits like that, we had to follow all that things of what the unions say. And we're also, in addition to that, we're proposing to raise our informal bid amount for goods and service from $2,500, which it is right now, up to $45,000 for all those same reasons previously mentioned. A good example with our fleet department, at least once a week, the fleet has put a requisition in because of a item that they've had to do, a repair that they've had to make over $2,500. You can't hardly get anything done for under $45,000 with the fleet department this year. And every time we do that, they have to give me informal bid paperwork, try to get 3 bids. We take a vehicle over to Harold Ford, or any other vendor for that matter, to see what's wrong with it. And while it's there, they figure out what's wrong with it. The price ends up being over $2,500, so we have to go out to get 3 bids, but it's already there. So it's just a waste of time to try to do that. Since the beginning of this, we've already processed 206 informal bids between the $2,500 and the $35,000 range, 206. Each one of those requires documented paperwork of 3 quotes each, at least, documented paperwork. During the last few years, the district's gone through some internal audits, and we've been presented with some findings that we've had it done. Finance Division has worked diligently to get all these things cleaned up. Purchasing was part of some of those findings from the previous administrations. So we have really buckled down with the finance department and put some checks and balances in place to curtail those problems. So by increasing these thresholds, we'll not only allow the other division staff to really concentrate on what they should be doing as opposed to bids. They should be concentrating on their jobs and all their core duties that they need to do. And also give purchasing a little bit more time to concentrate more on contract administration, help with the proposal developments ahead of time, service agreements, and construction project proposals. It'll just give us more time to do that. We've been meaning to do this for the last year and a half, but quite frankly, I just haven't had time to really.
Too many
really
contracts.
attack it. Yeah, too many contracts and POs. So in a nutshell, that's basically, we just want to increase our limits a little bit. We've got a great staff out there that is diligent in watching their budgets. We know things are tight. All the division managers are really, really good about getting bids anyway, even with these, if we raise these things, because they need to save money in their divisions anyway. So I'm confident that would not change. In purchasing, Matt Davies and myself, we always look at any of these higher dollar amounts anyway. Sometimes we have sole source things come through that says sole source. We actually find other vendors that do have that same product. So we send it back to them and say, we did find this, so we're not going to stop that part of it. So I'll take any questions that you may have.
Okay, Mr. Scheidegger.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. Mr. Jones, you and your staff have done a good job presenting this, and I want to say that I support efficiencies and relieving staff of burdens. I also want to say that I appreciate your presentation. I did have a couple of other questions concerning things like how are we going to lower, how are we going to get improvements in negotiating by lowering these amounts? And I think you've explained that very well in terms of your ability to talk to vendors in advance and work through that. And I did note that. And we still have checks and balances in place, as you pointed out. A couple of questions concerning the 36 to 99,000, the bid threshold. What is the percent? Do you know roughly that would fall in between there of the bids that we get?
We have probably, let's see, I've got 13.6. If it raises up to 100,000, the formal bids that are in that amount is really just about 50% is what they are,
50%.
yeah.
Okay. And likewise, in terms of the altering the consulting contracts to an RFQ for those,
Yeah, and
what's the percentage there?
And I didn't speak,
100,000?
I didn't speak to that. There, especially with the revenue enhancement and things that we've been doing in the past, we've had a lot of consultants that senior staff will seek out. And they know that industry, so they will seek someone out that either they've got a referral from another agency. And it's hard to do an RFQ on something like that because there's so many consultants that say they can perform these things, but if you don't have any hard facts from another agency that has dealt in that particular thing, you really don't know. And if you make an award on something like that and they don't really know what their that's not really their expertise, even though they may be able to do it, that's not their expertise. That just kind of defeats the purpose of trying to get a consultant that's gonna help us out. I don't have that figure
Okay.
of consulting things that are under $100,000. I don't know if Matt has that. I didn't ask Matt to get that figure for me. So there are more consultant fees under 100,000 than there are over 100,000.
Yeah, that
I can
makes
tell you
sense.
that for sure, so.
And the point is that, and those above that threshold, we're still going to go to the full bid
Correct.
process.
Correct.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Scheidegger. I see that two other chiefs are standing there next to you. Chiefs, were you there just to support his comments, or do you have some additional comments you'd like to add?
Only in the sense that we just wanted to give you the opportunity to ask us any questions and to know that we fully support the direction that we're taking this. We believe it's going to provide not only more efficiencies, but more opportunities for us we strongly understand that these dollar values are going to be changing significantly because they were at such a low number.
Right.
Again, going back to, we burned out so many of our vendors just essentially by having a $2,500 minor threshold. We have a hard time getting people even responding to us anymore because they realize that it's just for a bid. So we support it. We see the value. We believe that we have the checks and balances in place today that will prevent any kind of issues with this down the road, and that's what.
Ditto?
Well, and since I'm up here, I guess I need to talk. No, but, and also, you know, having oversight in the finance, this is something that's going to help multiple divisions to be
Okay.
more efficient. Obviously, the purchasing and logistics, as they are co-located in the same management structure. But every aspect of this in the agency is going to be helped. I mean, one of the examples was just tires. You know, if you go out and try to buy new tires for something, it becomes ludicrous on the process to do that.
Sure.
And so this is a small example. So yeah, we're just, and we've talked at length with senior, you know, with the fire chief who's not here this evening, but this is something that's fully endorsed.
Sure. Well, you know, and I appreciate all your comments, gentlemen, and my colleagues' questions. I mean, I think what we've got here is a balance of fiscally responsible oversight and yet also fiscally responsible processes that balance out protecting the monies of the public. And so it sounds to me like, based on your testimony, you've said we've already put in the checks and balances based on previous findings of audits that will protect us from issues even when we raise the thresholds. And it sounds to me like we're really going to improve our efficiencies by doing all of these things. And as I was reading it, you could read through that and hear efficiencies, we're not even able to get bids because people don't want to take the time as vendors to even comply with some of the stuff. And that obviously becomes a problem for us on the other end of it. So I'm very supportive of these changes and making this move forward. I did have one question, and I'm struggling to find exactly where it was listed because I can't annotate my notes on my iPad, not that bright. But there was a comment made about conflict of interest statements.
Right.
Can you clarify for the public, because in the written material I read last week, it talked about that you could receive, it almost read as if you could receive gifts and other elements that didn't exceed $1,000. And I can't really find it. I'll maybe find it after we close this. But it almost sounded like we're going to have conflict of interest statements from the various division heads or anyone involved in purchasing. But you can get a gift if it doesn't exceed $1,000. And I really don't think that's what we intended to write. We're going to have a conflict of interest statement on file for anyone making decisions of purchasing so that we can preclude any kind of kickbacks or those kind of things. But as I was reading the literature, I thought, you can't be assuming that a conflict of interest statement limits it. You could get a gift for $999 and it's not a conflict. And I thought, I don't think that's what we intended to say.
Right, and they spoke to that in the public contract code, that even something under $1,000, if it's perceived as a gift or any what kind of thing that would sway judgment on an award, that's not allowed. And we don't receive any gifts, any kickbacks, anything like that.
And the code might say that if it's less than 1,000, we don't consider it a gift.
Right.
I think this organization ought to make a very strong statement. I don't care if it's a penny.
Yes.
If it's given to you in your role as a decision maker of which vendor is going to get the product, we don't play the game of you can give them something for $999 and we'll call that and we'll look the other way. Somebody else who has that code might be okay with that, but I don't think this agency's, like you just say,
you're
we don't
correct.
do gifts, and that means zero. Not 1,000, but zero. So, if down the road we need to add to that, it's fine that the uniform code says that threshold of 1,000, but I think this agency would not want to participate in deciding whether that was a gift because it was $999. I think we should have a conflict that says, if you have any conflict financial in the decision, you need to reveal that and not participate in whatever decision's being made. And so as I read that, I don't know where in the packet, because we're reading a lot of materials. but-
Yeah, it wasn't in mine. I believe it probably was something in the public contract code that you looked up, because it is in there. Those exact things that you were saying is in
Okay,
there.
and
What
that
I-
may be in what came across in our packet on the iPad, but I just, I'll look at it later on, but we might, as a policy body, say, well, we're okay with that. Metro's gonna take the higher road and say, sorry,
Right.
we're not gonna play the gift giving to $999, because I think down the road that could bite you pretty hard.
Zero tolerance.
A zero tolerance. If you're involved in making decisions, you don't get gifts, period. We really shouldn't have it any other way.
Right, and what I have listed in here, which is what we'll do and what the county does, any contracts or procurements that are $10,000 and over, staff will be required to sign a conflict of interest statement, and especially the people that will be on any kind of evaluation teams. They will also, before they're allowed on an evaluation team, sign that same conflict of interest statement, because we won't allow them to be on it.
Okay, is that where you found it, Director Scheidegger?
Is it the disclosure statement that you're?
Disclosure statement,
Yeah.
yeah.
And it has that cap of 1,000?
No, it's 10.
Yeah.
It's 10 in here.
10,000 is
10,000.
is the cap, but where's the gift piece?
I think in the
So I didn't go look it up. It was whatever was sent
Yeah.
to me. So anyway, I
Unless the
want to
numbers
bring
may
that
came
up,
up.
gentlemen. I'm perfectly comfortable with a motion from my colleague to move this forward tonight. I think it's brilliant. Efficiencies, I hear you guys saying, it's going to allow us to get back to our core missions, which is what we obviously need to be doing all the time. So I'm supportive of it. I just think that if somewhere in there we're agreeing to a decision that a gift is fine at $999, I think this agency ought to take a policy standpoint that says gifts of any kind are not
agree.
acceptable when we're giving out public funds. So I'll look into it, because I know I read it. I didn't go off, Google it and try to read. I don't have that kind of time. But I know it was in my packet, so I'll find it and then we can continue
Yeah,
forward.
if you get any questions.
So do you want a motion to move this to the full board? Is that what you're looking for?
That's correct.
Okay, Mr. Chairman.
Well, I think we've got a
just one
chief that
second.
wants to,
Oh.
Just one last comment. The policy in its current form is going to be placed into the new policy form. I don't know if you.
Correct.
If you saw it. It needs
We
to be,
assume that.
yeah, some work into that.
Right.
And so then, yeah, the recommendation for us would be to take it to the next board meeting and not come back before the policy committee, but be deferred to the full board for implementation. Okay, thank you.
So moved.
okay. So I second that. So I think with that, any other questions or comments from the gentleman? Thank you very much. I think this is really helpful, and I hope it helps you guys move quickly to more efficiency.
Definitely will. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Madam Clerk?
Director Scheidegger.
Aye.
Director Gould.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you very much. That is the single action item for tonight's policy committee. I'll interact with the chair of the committee to see if we have any agenda items coming into the future. We do not have a meeting date set for this policy committee. As you, as the public may know, this is only done when we actually have work to do and generated by either members of the committee or the administration. And seeing that we have none, there will be a to be determined date on the agenda. Without any further comments, we'll have this policy committee adjourn.